Keeping a close eye on your forecast and some active showers and storms across the Gulf Coast right now. How's the rest of your week shaping up? I'll be breaking down all of those details coming up.
And a convicted sex offender is back behind bars, charged with yet another sex crime. We've got the latest.
President Trump quickly returned to Washington this morning as Israel and Iran launch a new round of strikes. I'm Rebecca Castor with the latest developments coming up.
First on the Gulf Coast with breaking news and weather. Fox 10 Midday starts now.
Good morning to you, Gulf Coast, and welcome into Fox 10 Midday on your rainy Tuesday. I'm Ashlyn Mitchell.
And I'm Jennifer Lampers.
Jen, as always, we're kicking things off with a look at the forecast. I was driving across the bay this morning, got caught in those thunderstorms, low visibility, just kind of a wild morning out there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I've gotten some reports of some flooding too. I know one of those was closer towards downtowners, so just make sure that you're driving carefully. If you cannot see the roadway in front of you, turn around, find an alternate route. You never know what it's going to look like under there. It really doesn't take much to move your vehicle. Yeah, and so also a lot of the lightning, it's been cloud to ground. There's been some power outages.
And turn your lights on.
Yeah,
because I saw a lot of people out there with their lights off today.
Yes,
so.
To me, it's always the silver and the white cars. I say that as someone that drives it myself. Once that visibility drops, if your taillights aren't illuminated, it's easy to lose sight of your vehicle in some of that once that water gets kicked up. So just make sure you're driving carefully, headlights on, double check. You might even need to manually do it. Well, taking a look at satellite and radar across the southeast, we're not alone in this active period. It's summertime across the southeast, so a lot of our neighbors also experiencing some of those showers and storms. Here locally, things really beginning to ramp up further towards our inland spots. Take a look at Monroe County. Half the county is just absorbed in some of these thunderstorms out there. It's loud, it's active. Even if you're in portions of Monroeville, Repton, you might be hearing some of that rumble of thunder, not quite experiencing some of it, but it's going to be soggy out there. Franklin down into Chrysler, starting to see some of that heavy rain just closer towards Citronelle in the northwest portion there in Mobile County. Really active with some of those storms on the eastern shore. This one right here was moving from Fairhope closer towards Daphne. It's going to hold together, so Malva, Spanish Fort, just a heads up, you're about to start experiencing some of that. Be cautious heading out across I-10 if you're heading out the door anytime soon. Southern Baldwin, Mobile County is looking a lot better. And then on the Florida Panhandle, also just starting to see some of those scattered showers and storms. Again, drive careful. Still some sunshine out there right now, but storms off in the distance. I'm going to talk more about your forecast, timing things out heading into the rest of today. That's coming up in just a little bit. Ashlyn.
All right, Jen, thanks for that update there. Well, topping our news at 11 this morning, after leaving the G7 summit in Canada early, President Trump is back at the White House, closely monitoring developments in the Middle East with his national security team. Fox's Rebecca Castor reports from Washington.
Well before sunrise, President Trump returned to Washington to be in place as commander-in-chief as Israel and Iran launch a new round of attacks.
He has some evaluations and decisions to make. We know he does not want a wider war. The number one goal here is to contain Iran.
Israel and Iran are on their fifth day of fighting, and Israeli officials believe their strikes have significantly set back Iran's nuclear program.
We've taken out their main enrichment facility at Natanz. We've taken out their conversion facility in Isfahan. We're on the road to victory, and we're deeply grateful for President Trump's support of what we are doing.
Right now, the U.S. is not involved offensively in the conflict, but the Pentagon says U.S. forces are standing by.
Our job is to be strong. We are postured defensively in the region to be strong in pursuit of a peace deal.
Meanwhile, Iranians are fleeing to neighboring countries after Trump warned on social media that civilians should evacuate Tehran immediately. The president says he's not interested in a ceasefire and has his sights set on something bigger.
And then a real end, not a ceasefire. And then
for American troops to get involved, President Trump would need approval from Congress, but even Republicans are split on U.S. intervention. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
In the meantime, Iran launched a new barrage of missiles into central Israel. The attack there left a huge crater in the ground in the city of Herzliya, just north of Tel Aviv, and a burned out bus can be seen nearby on your screen. An Israeli military spokesman said most of the 30 or so missiles fired into Israel were intercepted by the Iron Dome, but several made it through air defenses. There were no immediate reports of injuries. Iran and Israel have been ramping up their attacks since Friday, when Israel began a surprise air campaign against its longtime adversary. And in the meantime, President Trump left the G7 summit a day early to deal with the situation in the Middle East, but not before meeting with key American trading partners, hoping to make deals that could end the ongoing tariff war. The White House is reporting some progress, including with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who agreed to finalize a new deal within 30 days. But it's a different story with the European Union, with the president saying he doesn't feel like they are offering a fair deal. The president also finalized a new trade deal with the UK, which focused on cars, steel, and aluminum. Ultimately, there were no major breakthroughs at this summit, but some world leaders are calling it a success, saying their main goal was to get through it with alliances still intact. Meanwhile, the president is hitting the pause button on his administration's immigration crackdown on the nation's farms and meatpacking plants. Since January, the Trump administration has arrested, detained, and deported thousands of suspected undocumented immigrants. Undocumented immigrants make up about 40% of crop farm workers. That's according to the Agriculture Department. And there are concerns that deportations could then impact the country's food supply. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt talked about those worries.
As per our farmers and their concerns, they have a president who has their backs and listens to their concerns and hears them. But we also have a legal pathway to come to this country and work specifically for agricultural work. So there's a legal way to do it, and we encourage that legal pathway. And we're currently working on strengthening our legal immigration system for that reason.
Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins has been lobbying to the president to pause his crackdown on farms. In response, the president said, quote, changes are coming. And in the last few days, a senior official with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement issued new guidance to agents in the field to pause all worksite enforcement and investigations on agriculture. Well, in local news now, a convicted sex offender is due back in court tomorrow after investigators say he was found with a 16-year-old girl he met online. According to Criolla police, they responded to a disturbance call off Highway 43. When they arrived, Criolla Police Chief Shane Stringer says officers could hear screaming coming from inside the home. Once they forced their way inside, they say they found 30-year-old Jeremiah McDougal with the teenager. After speaking with the alleged victim, the teenager told officers she met McDougal online. Now, according to the FBI, there are an estimated 500,000 online predators active daily all across the country. Alabama's sex offender registry shows McDougal was convicted of raping a 14-year-old girl back in 2021. Chief Stringer says anyone, especially teens who are using the internet, should always be cautious.
This is a prime case of showing the subject was known to the female, and this is a prime example of people not knowing everything about somebody, and knowing their history and meeting people online and that type of situation. So it's a dangerous world sometimes.
McDougal remains in Mobile County Metro Jail this morning on no bond. When we come back, Florida lawmakers have voted on this year's budget after a massive delay. We'll tell you about that and how Mississippi is working to restore oyster reefs along the Gulf Coast. But first, Jen, it's been an active morning all across the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, that is exactly right, Ashlyn. I've been keeping a close eye on our Navigator Credit Union camera at the battleship. We're taking a look towards Daphne, towards the eastern shore. This is going to be that storm that's moving through. I just saw a really impressive lightning strike. So continuing to see more of these active storms just moving in. Keep the rain gear handy for this afternoon. I'll talk more about your forecast coming up when we come back.
Welcome back into Fox 10 Midday. Fairhope was supposed to be the home for the start of the 48th annual Air Race Classic, but due to the weather this morning, they've been forced to fly out of the second destination. Still, before the race was postponed, Fox 10 News reporter Stephen Moody was able to get a pretty cool preview.
Today, we celebrate as women pilots from all across the world were in Fairhope making their final preparations before the 48th Air Race Classic. These women are following in the footsteps of women who flew all the way back in 1929 for the Women's Air Derby, which was known as the Powder Puff Derby. That's where 20 female pilots, including Amelia Earhart, raced from California to Ohio.
They continued racing in the 30s, picked up again after World War II, and we've continued the legacy since. And today we've got 40 teams and 91 pilots. So we've come a long way. Every year we have new racers joining us. We've had thousands of racers over the last 96 years.
And for these pilots, it takes a lot of preparation. They were quarantined from their planes for 5 days and spent early Tuesday morning making their final preparations.
I'm not used to having my keys taken away, but I think it's good because now we're almost itching to fly a little bit more than we were.
Yeah, and as pilots, we want to fly every single day, probably multiple times a day. So all of us are just sitting at the hotels and at dinner like, I really wish I could be flying.
And while the competition is tough, there's still room for camaraderie.
All of the racers are here to be friends and to support each other, and we hang out in the hotel rooms after all the briefings, and everybody's making new friends.
Stephen Moody, Fox 10 News.
All right, Stephen, thank you. Later on Fox 10 News at 5, I'll be talking to a Fairhope mother and daughter who are flying in this race as well. So be sure to stay tuned for that story. Well, in the meantime, Florida state lawmakers are finally able to go home. After months of back and forth, the legislature is sending Governor Ron DeSantis a $115 billion budget. Florida Capitol Bureau reporter Cody Butler has this story.
What was supposed to be a 60-day legislative session turned into 105 days after the budget process was drawn out this year. Now lawmakers can go home. The long-awaited hanky drop finally happened late Monday night after being delayed for 6 weeks.
It will forever be characterized by the Republican Party infighting, which delayed us.
The $115 billion budget heading to Governor Ron DeSantis includes permanent tax cuts. The biggest one, eliminating the business rent tax.
What you're helping is you're helping small businesses. Small businesses create jobs. Small businesses grow and help their communities. We're allowing these businesses to not just maintain their successes today, but allowing them to grow into the future.
The Florida exclusive tax is expected to save business owners about $900 million a year. However, House Minority Leader Fentrice Driscoll says she's taking the good with the bad on the tax plan. She wanted to see more help for every Floridian.
So if we can help them, why can't we also do things to help consumers? We can do both things at the same time. I think it is a false choice to suggest that that's the only way that we could help consumers.
Families will see some relief, including a permanent sales tax repeal on hurricane supplies year-round, eliminating the need for a yearly sales tax holiday. The back-to-school sales tax holiday will become permanent every year for the entire month of August.
What we've said to Floridians and Florida families, especially those with school-age kids, is that when it comes time to be prepared to go to school next year, we hear you, we see you, and we're investing in that opportunity for you. That I thought was a big deal.
Now, this budget is expected to shrink once it lands on Governor DeSantis' desk. That's because he has line item veto power. In the past, he's taken out some individual projects. Now, when that will happen, we don't know. He's currently on a trade mission in Paris right now. At the state capitol, I'm Cody Butler reporting.
And listen to this, nearly 200 tons of oyster shells will be used in a first-time experiment on the coast to rebuild oyster reefs. It's called direct setting, and the shells will go into the water and then oyster larvae will be placed on them. The goal is for the larvae to grow and create a brand new oyster bed. Right now, most restoration begins in tanks. Dr. Virginia Schweiss is co-founder of Callie Mae Sea Foundation, and her organization is the one conducting this study. 9 reefs, each with a 150-foot base, will be placed in the water at Shearwater Reef in Ocean Springs.
So if you think about the number of steps that are taken out of the equation, the amount of money that can be saved, this would be revolutionary.
If it works, that means we could more quickly, more efficiently rebuild Mississippi's oyster industry.
Experts say this project could help Mississippi pioneer in oyster reef restoration.
Well, taking another look at your forecast outside right now, and still just starting to see some of the slick roadways out there. This is going to be at the Pensacola Bay Bridge. Traffic moving smoothly, but still some of that water just lingering on the roadways. Just make sure that you drive carefully in case you're heading out the door anytime soon. Taking a look at radar right now and really just starting to see things turn active. It is really scattered with some of those showers, those storms out there. Some of them a little stronger, especially with some of that thunder and lightning. Really starting to see things ramping up close closer towards Beatrice, into Franklin, down into Monroeville, Frisco City. Huxford also just hearing some of that thunder and lightning, but luckily a lot of that heavy rain beginning to move out. Chrysler, Choctaw Bluff, Wagerville, Jackson looking a lot better at this time. As we make our way further off towards the west, Citronelle still a little soggy, but Chanchula, Gulf Crest, down into Sims and Wilmer, it's quiet for right now, seeing some of that sunshine, likely still hearing some of those rumbles of thunder. The majority of Mobile County is looking nice, looking quiet. Baldwin County, a little bit different out there. We are starting to see quite a bit of rain just falling along I-10. Things active closer towards Malbus, Loxley, Gateswood, down into Seminole. It's soggy. It's active with some of those thunderstorms. And then just closer towards Orange Beach, also noticing some of that rain just pushing on shore. And then along the Florida Panhandle, very scattered closer towards Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Escambia counties there, Allentown down into Milton, and closer towards Fort Walton Beach. Taking a live view outside, this is going to be from the battleship cam. Again, we're looking across the bay, looking towards the eastern shore with more of those showers and storms just beginning to push through. Here's where some of that clearing is, just on the south side of Daphne there, but it's beginning to move into Spanish Fort. Temperatures lower 70s, feeling more like 83. Some improvements out there because of that rain that moved through. Now here's timing things out on our Futurecast. So again, it's the summertime pattern. Futurecast doesn't like it that much. It's not so much going to be the placement, it's going to be the timing that we're paying attention to. Main takeaway, more of those scattered storms will continue heading into this afternoon. You might start to see some of those heavy downpours, frequent lightning, gusty winds, but there's still a decent chance that you might not see anything. Really just going to be where you're located at that time. Once we get later on into the evening, one of the driving forces behind these storms is daytime heating. So it's 5:30, that sun is beginning to set. It's really going to be closer to between 7 and 8 o'clock that sun fully sets. And then after that, all those storms, they just fizzle out because they lose more of that driving force out there. Will turn quiet heading further along into this evening. Now, it's still summertime here across the Gulf Coast. We're used to this pattern, but we will start to see higher rain coverage for today. Drops a little bit heading into tomorrow and Thursday. And then by the weekend, it's even lower by that point. But do keep in mind, there tends to always be a trade-off. And in this case, rain chances go down. Temperatures go up. It is going to be turning hot and steamy heading towards this weekend. Temperatures today just maxing out really the mid, possibly upper 80s out there, feeling more like the lower to mid 90s. But I mentioned that trade-off once we get closer towards the weekend. Actual daytime highs by Saturday and Sunday, lower to mid 90s. That feels like temperatures well into the triple digits. We're talking about 100 to 105 by Saturday and Sunday. The Rip Curl risk at our local beaches, hopeful that that'll continue because this will be a great way to help cool down, is that it's moderate today through Thursday, low by Friday and Saturday. Hopeful that that will continue that trend by the weekend, that we will start to see some improvements down at our local beaches, as I'm sure a lot of folks will be heading out to enjoy it. Cool down just a little bit, but here's what I'm tracking over the next 7 days. So summertime pattern in full force. There's where I mentioned Saturday and Sunday, the rain chances go down to 30%, but our daytime highs turn real toasty with some high humidity and some very high heat indices in the triple digits. I'll talk more about your forecast coming up in just a little bit. We'll also have more with Fox 10 Midday as a major update in the case of celebrity Matthew Perry's death. That and more in just a moment.
Welcome back in. The time is 11:23 on your Tuesday. One of the doctors accused of providing ketamine to actor Matthew Perry has agreed to a plea deal. The agreement filed Monday shows that Dr. Salvador Plasencia will plead guilty to 4 counts of distribution of ketamine. Plasencia is one of 5 people charged in connection to Perry's death. Prosecutors say an underground network of drug sellers and suppliers were ultimately responsible for distributing the ketamine that killed Perry. According to the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner, the Friends star died in 2023 at age 54 because of, quote, acute effects of ketamine and subsequent drowning in a hot tub at his home. Plasencia now faces a maximum sentence of 40 years as well as fines. Officials say the doctor is expected to enter his plea in the coming weeks. Also this morning, the Supreme Court has declined to hear a copyright suit against pop star Ed Sheeran. It was filed by a company that claimed his Grammy-winning single, Thinking Out Loud, copied the classic Marvin Gaye song, Let's Get It On. In declining to hear the appeal, the Supreme Court left in place a decision from the New York-based Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals siding with Sheeran. The question put forth to the justices was whether the appeals court gave too much deference to the U.S. copyright interpretation of the Copyright Act of 1909. Sheeran has been successfully defending against different iterations of the lawsuit for years. Meanwhile, scaffolding went up in Venice today in the hopes of restoring a Banksy mural. Banksy's migrant child appeared on the side of a 17th century building about 6 years ago. It shows a boy wearing a life jacket and holding a pink flare. Unfortunately, though, a combination of being exposed to Venice's humidity and being painted on a canal-facing side of a crumbling building left it in danger of fading away. The building was unoccupied when the artwork went up, but it was bought last year by an Italian bank that is now financing its restoration, mural included. Well, here's a chance for you to get a piece of Hollywood history. More than 450 items belonging to the influential director David Lynch are going up for auction. Lynch, who died in January, was known for his unique and surrealistic films and TV shows, including Blue Velvet and Twin Peaks. Personal artifacts being auctioned include props, fine art, and memorabilia. Other items we're told from his home will also be included, like a vintage Chanel sofa, a director's chair, and an espresso machine. The live auction for the David Lynch collection is set for June 18th from Julian's Auctions and Turner Classic Movies. Well, in our next half hour of Fox 10 Midday, how the shooting of 2 lawmakers in Minnesota is bringing attention to a disturbing trend. Plus, Alabama is getting a massive cut from the Purdue Pharma case settlement. But first, let's check in with Jen.
And taking another look at your forecast, this time a live view outside. Down in Orange Beach, we're taking a look further off towards the east. That's where we're seeing some of those showers and storms just pushing in. You can start to see it on the left side there. Low visibility, turning a little gray and soggy. It looks like the beach might have cleared out just a little bit, but I'm going to talk more about your forecast and what you can expect for the rest of your Tuesday. That's coming up when we...
This is Fox 10 Midday.
Thanks for staying with us on Fox 10 Midday this morning. Lawmakers are calling for urgent security reforms as disturbing new details emerge in the case of the accused Minnesota shooter. Prosecutors say Vance Bolter, charged in the murders of State House leader Melissa Hortman and her husband, actually had a hit list and was prepared to kill more. Authorities say he visited 4 other Democratic lawmakers' homes the night of the shooting after months of planning and had names of more than 45 elected officials. In Washington, House Democrats are pressing Speaker Mike Johnson to increase funding for Congress members' security. But some members say the threats won't stop them.
They called and said the FBI that my name had been on the list, but I'm going to keep fighting for the people that I represent. We've got to stop this hate. We've got to stop this division.
Meanwhile, a special security briefing is expected today for U.S. senators on Capitol Hill. Bolter now faces 6 federal counts, including murder, and he could face the death penalty. Also this morning, we're following the shooting of 2 Minnesota lawmakers by someone impersonating a police officer. One police department in Alabama is working hard to ensure their old police equipment doesn't fall into the wrong hands. You see, finding an old police car or even police-grade tactical gear isn't hard. There are websites that auction off retired patrol cars like this retired law police Crown Victoria from Huntsville. Or this one out of Ohio with all the lights and stickers still on. The chief of police in Athens, which is in North Alabama, says you won't find any cars in Athens with the police stickers still on it.
When we deadline a vehicle, we take the light bar, any lights, we strip the decals off the doors, anything that says police, we're taking off of. If you're still unsure, if it doesn't look like one of the local law enforcement agencies that you know, call agencies and ask, hey, do you have an officer at my door?
Police say it's important to know what cars and uniforms local agencies use so you can recognize local officials. In the meantime, Big Pharma is expected to bring millions of dollars to the state of Alabama. That's according to Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall. This is because of a multi-billion-dollar opioid epidemic settlement with Purdue Pharma and its owners for their role in contributing to America's opioid crisis. Over the next 15 years, communities across the country will receive direct funding to support opioid addiction treatment, prevention, and recovery. The settlement would resolve lawsuits against Purdue Pharma that allege in part that the company put profit over patient safety.
What we found were marketing memos that were completely false, training they were doing to doctors or submission of studies to them, trying to convince them to increase their prescribing rates, which we now know was completely improper. And then just the failure to disclose the addictive nature of this drug that they were familiar with.
Now, local governments across Alabama and the rest of the nation will need to join the settlement contingent on bankruptcy court proceedings, the AG noted. Marshall says communities need to take swift action to sign on that agreement.
Taking another look at your forecast, and a little bit overcast down in Fairhope. You can start to see they had to pause some of the construction that was taking place just due to some of those heavy storms that are moving through. Still some water just lingering on the ground there. Not much movement to the flag, but a little gray, gloomy overcast as some of those dark clouds still rolling through across the eastern shore. Now taking a look at the conditions out there in Fairhope, temperatures now resting in the upper 70s, feeling like that just courtesy of some of that rain. However, in West Mobile, we're starting to dry out, introduce more sunshine, so those temperatures are ticking back up right now, feeling more like the mid 80s. But as we get further along into the rest of today, still expecting those daytime highs to be maxing out in a range of the 80s. If you see more of that rain, then you will start to see some of those cooler conditions. But if you start to notice more of the sunshine, it's going to be feeling hot, even feeling toasty at times with all the humidity that we're seeing out there. So possibilities later on this afternoon, if you're not seeing the rain, to see those heat indices in the mid to upper 90s. Now just wait for it. The rain chances are going to go down as we get closer towards the weekend. So that means that the trade-off is going to be those temperatures going up. There's going to be the heat index values, that heat, that humidity working together. This is more of the feels like temperatures out there, feeling more like the lower 100s, 100 to 105 possible. Once we get closer towards the weekend, it's going to be hot. It's going to be toasty. Find some ways to cool down and stay hydrated. A look at radar. It's active out there. It's scattered. We're noticing more of those showers and storms pushing inland. Mobile County turned a little quiet along with southern Baldwin County. But if you just look offshore, more of those showers and storms are on the way. So timing things out in our futurecast. Again, don't pay too close attention to the placement. It's more of the timing futurecast model, since it's not an organized line moving through. It's more of the pop-up showers and storms. They struggle just a little bit with the placement. It's going to be random where they develop heavy downpours, frequent lightning, gusty winds possible. But really the takeaway with this is by early to mid-afternoon, more showers and storms begin to ramp up. It's going to be after around 3, 4 o'clock that we start to see some of that turning a bit more isolated. And then really after 6, we start to notice it quieting down. And then once that sun sets, it's all gone. It fizzles out because we lose that daytime heating. The Ripco risk at our local beaches, it's moderate for today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Noticing those yellow flags along with purple flags signifying some marine life. And in this case, it's going to be the jellyfish out there. Improvements once we get closer towards the weekend. A good time to head out there, cool down. And then checking in on the tropics, here's the good news. Things are quiet. It's expecting it to stay that way for the next 7 days. No new tropical activity is expected for the next coming week. That includes the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf waters. Here's what I'm tracking over the next 7 days. Although the Atlantic is quiet, it's not so much quiet here. We continue our summertime pattern. Highest rain chances are for today. We start to notice a little downtick heading into tomorrow and Thursday. Even more quiet once Saturday and Sunday rolls around, but those temperatures go up. It's going to be hot, toasty, and humid out there. I'll talk more about your forecast and what I'm tracking. That'll come up in just a little bit. Ashlyn.
Well, if you watched the U.S. Open this weekend and you're thinking, maybe I should give this a try, one place you can start is Topgolf. Vanessa is there this morning picking up a club herself.
Rain or shine, Topgolf is always an option. I'm here joined by Amy Wyckoff. She is the Director of Sales. Amy, okay, this is really cool. And look at this sign that y'all have for us. so neat. So we thank you for that. But we're getting ready to play a game, right? What are we playing today?
We are playing Block Party today, and what's awesome about Block Party is if you've never hit a golf club before, you're still going to get points on the board.
That's my kind of game. Okay, so I'm gonna get ready to play here, and hopefully it's not a swing and a miss. And as I'm doing this, Amy, tell me a little bit about where we're at right now.
This is called our luxury suite. It's unique to a few of the Topgolfs in the United States. Nice swing.
Your
and
golfing
it
lessons.
has 4 bays. It's great for a corporate event, private party. It holds up to about 75 people, and it's just a really fun space.
Okay, this is a neat space for sure. For anyone that's maybe looking for a bigger space, especially during the summertime. I know you have like after school organizations and programs. Can they book something like this?
Absolutely. We do events anywhere from 6 people to 500 people for the whole venue. We've done field trips in here and corporate events, so it's great for everybody.
That is good to know. Now, aside from golfing, you have a little bit of everything here, right? What other options can people enjoy?
We do. We have a 9-hole mini golf course. We have bags. We have giant Jenga. We have a full-service restaurant that serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we have some great beverage choices.
Yeah, that didn't go far at all, but I'm gonna play it off. Now, for anyone that wants to stop by at Topgolf, Amy, where can they go?
They can just go to topgolfmobile.com.
Okay, well, good information, and I think it's your turn, and I'm done. I mean, I've gotten my golf lessons. I did a swing and a miss, so I think that's it for me.
You did great.
But Amy, thank you so much for the golfing
much.
lessons and for having this cute welcome sign for us. We truly appreciate it. And of course, we're gonna have all of this on fox10tv.com and click on the Very Vanessa tab. Okay, your turn now.
Thank you.
Love it, Vanessa. Thank you. I love going to Topgolf, but I will say I tend to hit the walls more than the actual course. So if you do plan to go, just go on a day I'm not there for your safety. Well, coming up, we have some important information you'll want to know if you're taking a flight this summer. We'll tell you about that. Also, a tip for parents, the account that makes saving for your child's future even easier. Plus, welcome back. You're watching Fox 10 Midday on your Tuesday morning. If you're planning to have a baby this year, there are some steps you can take in making sure they are set up financially. It's called a 529 plan, and experts say it's easy to make one. 529 plans are tax advantage savings plans designed to help families save for future education expenses like college or trade school. The earnings in these plans grow tax deferred, and when it's time to make withdrawals for qualified expenses, those are tax free at the federal level. Many states also offer state tax benefits.
It's easy to do. They'll debit it right out of your bank account, and you can turn that on and off as you wish as well. But that's a great way to start. You know, they don't let your baby out of the hospital without applying for a Social Security number. So as soon as you get that Social Security number, you can set up a 529 account.
And the experts say even just $10 a month is better than nothing. They also say to think about all the times a relative might buy your child a gift. So tell them that instead of a gift, to set that money aside into the 529 plan. Well, as we get into the thick of the busy summer travel season, we want to make sure you're prepared in case your baggage gets lost or damaged. It isn't common for bags to be damaged by airlines, but it does happen. The Department of Transportation says airlines had a mishandled baggage rate of just 0.55% in 2024. Airlines are required to reimburse passengers for lost and damaged baggage, but in order to get it, experts say you have to be persistent.
At the end of the day, airlines are actually pretty good about handling bags safely and getting them where they need to be. That being said, when something bad does happen, airlines are lacking in customer service as far as making travelers whole again. Airlines can sometimes ask for original purchase receipts. This is where it can be useful if you've ordered something online, because you can often go back years or even up to a decade and find an old receipt.
If the airline rejects your request or you don't like what they offer you, you can file a complaint online with the Department of Transportation. Well, Gen Zers are looking for a new way to disconnect from the fast-paced world of tech, inspiring a revival of the old-school BlackBerry smartphone. Here's Fox News with the story.
Remember these? Well, BlackBerries, once the phone of choice, are seeing a resurgence in popularity, not among millennials or Gen Xers, but Gen Zers, who are in their teens and 20s, trading in their iPhones for a BlackBerry. Nostalgia tech it's called, and it's gone viral.
One of my friends did it. It's like disconnecting, like not addicting to your phone anymore. It's like your phone's for very basic, like calls and stuff like that.
This desire to ditch smartphones and go retro isn't new. Phone addictions, addictive algorithms, and other mental health issues brought on by smartphones has more and more people asking if they are using their smartphone or if the technology is using them. Gen Zers are now the first generation to untrap themselves.
Gen Z, over the last few years, has been the one category, the one generation that has slowed down their internet use, their social media use.
There aren't any new BlackBerry phones hitting the market, so Gen Zers are scouring online markets to find old ones or raiding their parents' stash of old tech. Risa has 3 Gen Z children, and she's more apt to dig it out than her kids.
The keyboard was better, and it operated more for business.
While taking a step back from technology has its obvious appeal, the technologists we talk to say there's a problem here. These phones do a lot more than dumb phones or BlackBerries do, whether it's paying with Apple Pay or getting in the subway system by using Omni. And they say once that reality sets in, this trend becomes far less popular. Experts say one can still take control back while keeping their smartphones by distancing them.
Putting them away at night, leaving them in a different room, again, putting apps on their phone to make sure that that they don't have the ability to be able to go, and then also track their time so that they can literally see by trends how often they're going on social media.
And finally, with this BlackBerry trend, based on feedback we got on the streets, iPhones in particular are hard to pry out of the hands of New Yorkers, whether they be Gen Zers or not.
This is all I know.
Disconnecting from the Upper West Side, Arthur Chien, Fox 5 News.
Oh my goodness, Jen, I had a pink BlackBerry. This is taking me back. I thought I was the stuff, honestly, years ago. I wish I would have kept it.
I was going to say, I had an LG Xenon, which I really liked because it was still touchscreen on the top, and then you slid it up, and then it had the long keyboard.
You knew what was up, too.
Yeah, exactly. I do kind of miss the actual keyboard, but my first phone was just a regular flip phone where you had to press like one multiple times to get like the first 3 letters.
I miss
used
the
to be
simplicity.
so quick at that.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Seriously.
It was simple. You accidentally open up the Wi-Fi, you're like, no, turn it off. Don't want to get charged. Oh, what a time.
That's great.
Well, let's go ahead and talk more about your forecast right now. And just a reminder, it's a great time to go ahead, download the Fox 10 weather app, hopefully have some free Wi-Fi out there. And this is going to be a great way to stay updated with the forecast. One of the best things about it right now, it's going to be really relevant to you, is that it lets you know if there's lightning or heavy rain on the way towards your location. That way, in case you have to run outside really quickly, get something that can't get wet, or planning on heading towards the grocery store, this is going to be a great way to keep up with the forecast. But let's go ahead and dive in deeper with what exactly I'm tracking out there. It's wet and it is soggy in many places so far to begin for this morning. Monroe County almost entirely engulfed in some sort of rain shower, thunderstorm out there. Those thunderstorms, they are turning just a bit more widespread. They're spreading out just a little bit, so still starting to see some of that heavy rain closer towards Repton, moving into Burnt Corn up towards Beatrice. So it is still wet, soggy, and low visibility. Just make sure that you're driving carefully out there. Making our way further off towards the west, really our Mississippi County is getting a lot of this. Loosedale down into Agricola and into Hurley, active heavy rain, lots of thunder and lightning. Mobile County, it's still mostly quiet. Baldwin County, a lot of that beginning to push out of here. It's just closer towards Bay Minette, Gateswood, moving into Barano Park. But look at Cantonment. It's wet, it's soggy. Grand Bay, you're starting to see some of those showers beginning to push in. Bayou Battery down towards Codin. Also some isolated lightning strikes there. More showers offshore, so Fort Morgan, Gulf Highlands, you're about to get more of that heavy rain. And then coastal Florida Panhandle, starting to see some of those improvements, more of that just beginning to push further inland. Reminder, these storms are continuing to push from the south towards the north. Just a scattered look so far to begin for today, only expecting that to continue into the early and middle parts of this afternoon. Later on this evening, that's when we will start to see more of this activity turn isolated. The closer we get to sunset, the better. That's when more of that activity just begins to subside and we start to lose that daytime heating, one of those driving forces. The rain chances over the next couple of days, we start to see that downward tick. And then by the weekend, rain chances really go down, but the heat goes up. I'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. For right now, a live view outside down on Dauphin Island. We'll be right back after this.
All right, listen to this. A wild animal's big day out is briefly interrupted by a close encounter with a family pet. Patrick Cornell has that story in today's Take a Look at This.
Take a look at this scary snout-to-snout standoff inside a California home. A black bear barged into the house only to be met by a 17-year-old dog named Doodle. No worries, Doodle escaped the scare unharmed. Undaunted by Doodle's fearsome fangs, the bear continued to raid the kitchen, and this wasn't the bear's first foray that day, breaking into another neighbor's home through a window to steal some snacks.
I had opened up the freezer, ruined a perfectly good gluten-free pizza, and really chowed down on the pancetta and bacon.
Then, working off those calories by taking a dip in a nearby pool. Buddy's having a very big day. Reportedly, the bear hung around the neighborhood for hours before finally being run off. In the things that shouldn't be here category,
I would bring your dog inside. There's an alligator over here.
No, not a small alligator. Someone spotted this behemoth outside their motel room in Fairfax, Virginia, and called the cops. An investigator arrived to find this 6-foot-long, scaly surprise loitering around. Reportedly, the reptile was traveling from New York to a zoo in North Carolina, but the overnight motel slumber party is apparently a big ol' no-go for gators, so police quickly helped escort the animal and its owner out of the county. And if a gator creeping around your door doesn't give you nightmares, try this terrifying tarantula instead. Don't worry, we'll rewind and pause it so you can partake in this horrifying image. The alarming arachnid was seen on camera in the middle of the night crawling around outside a home in Austin, Texas. A picture-perfect way to scare the daylights out of any homeowner. Good luck sleeping after that notification pops up on your phone. For Take a Look at This, yikes! I'm Patrick Cornell.
Absolutely not. I talked about this on the show last week. We had a tarantula growing up that escaped at my sister's birthday party. We didn't sleep for like 3 days till it was found. Why are tarantulas pets?
I know.
Thank my uncle for that one.
I was gonna say, I get the doorbell alerts all the time, and oftentimes it is some of the little critters out there. I would say mostly it's lizards. The other day, we got one, and it said that someone was on our back porch at 2 a.m, and it said person detected. Oh, and it was a raccoon.
No way. I'll take a raccoon over
when
a
you see that at 2 a.m., it's really scary. Yeah, I know. But gosh,
doorbell.
You never know what you're going to find the next day. Well, let's go ahead and take a final look at your forecast, and just starting to see that summertime pattern continue here on the Gulf Coast. Rain chances are higher for today. We have a very scattered look out there. Please make sure that you are driving carefully. A lot of thunder, a lot of lightning associated with these storms. Still the potential for some isolated gusty winds and some small hail. Double check that your headlights are on. That way you're visible to other drivers as you are out on the roadways, especially silver white cars. I'm looking at you. I drive one myself. But once that water gets kicked up, it's hard to see some of the vehicles out there. So you really want those tail lights illuminated. The good news, heading into the next few days, those rain chances slowly begin to go down. I know a lot of folks are over some of the rain, but just wait, because there's going to be that trade-off living here on the Gulf Coast, and it's going to be that heat. It's going to be that humidity. Once we get towards the weekend, the rain chances go down to 30%. But as you notice, those temperatures, they tick up. By that point, we're above average, but feels like temperatures triple digits. And I'm not talking the 100s that we've been seeing. We're getting closer towards 103 to 105. It's going to be toasty. I know. Find some ways to cool down and stay hydrated.
I'm ready for the sun.
I know.
You're the sun today, though.
There you go. I know. Got to bring some sunshine in here.
All right, thanks for watching Fox 10 Midday. We'll see you at 3 p.m.